I think what Obama did was throw a pebble. I'm ready to throw a rock.
While I understand that our witnesses will be discussing the cyber threats that many countries, including China and India, pose to our nation, I would like to focus for a few minutes on the widely reported instances of Russian hacking and disinformation that raised concerns regarding the election of 2016. In addition to stealing information from the Democratic National Committee and the Clinton campaign and cherry-picking what information it leaked to the media, the Russian government also created and spread fake news and conspiracies across the vast social media landscape. At the very least, the effect of Russia's actions was to erode the faith of the American people in our democratic institutions. These and other cyber tools remain highly active and engaged in misinforming our political dialogue even today. There is still much we do not know, but Russia's involvement in these intrusions does not appear to be in any doubt.
General Clapper, I just have to mention the name Mr. Assange has popped up, and I believe that he is the one who's responsible for publishing names of individuals that work for us that put their lives in direct danger. Is that correct?
Yes, he has.
And do you think that there's any credibility we should attach to this individual, given his record of
not in my view.
Not in your view. Admiral Rogers?
I second those comments.
Thank you. For the record, on October 7th, the Homeland Security and Office of Director of National Intelligence, their assessment was that the U.S. intelligence community is confident that the Russian government directed the recent compromise of emails from U.S. persons and institutions, including from U.S. political organizations. Goes on to say these thefts and disclosures are intended to interfere with the U.S. election process. Quote, such activity is not new to Moscow. Russians have used similar tactics and techniques across Europe and Eurasia. Quote, based on the scope and sensitivity of these efforts, that only Russia's senior-most officials could have authorized these activities. General Clapper, those are still operable and correct statements?
Yes, Chairman McCain, they are. As I indicated in my statement, we stand actually more resolutely on the strength of that statement that we made on the 7th of October.
I thank you. And so really what we're talking about is if they succeeded in changing the results of an election, which none of us believe they were, that would have to constitute an attack on the United States of America because of the effects if they had succeeded. Would you agree with that?
First, we cannot say they did not change any vote tallies or anything, and we have no way of gauging the impact that certainly the intelligence community can't gauge the impact it had on choices the electorate made. There's no way for us to gauge that. Whether or not that constitutes an act of war, I think, is a very heavy policy call that I don't believe the intelligence community should make, but it's certainly would carry, in my view, great gravity.
Thank you.
Appreciate being before the committee. Thank you. So, yes, I would. Would you agree with me that Radio Free Europe is outdated?
I'm frankly not up on
well, it
on
says radio,
and
a lot of people don't listen to the radio like they used to.
No.
Okay.
Well, actually, radio is a very popular mode in many parts of the world.
Radio's big in your world?
My world?
Yeah.
Not so much.
Yeah, I don't listen to the radio much either. So the bottom line is you're going to be challenged tomorrow by the president-elect. Are you okay with being challenged?
Absolutely.
Do you both welcome it?
We do.
Do you think it's appropriate?
We do.
Are you ready for the task?
I think so.
Good. Is there a difference between espionage and interfering in an election.
Yes, espionage implies to me at least, a passive.
Okay.
Passive collection, and this was much more activist.
So when it comes to espionage, we better be careful about throwing rocks. When it comes to interfering in our election, we better be ready to throw rocks. Do you agree with that?
That's a good metaphor.
I think what Obama did was throw a pebble. I'm ready to throw a rock. Would I be justified as a United States Senator taking your information about Russia's involvement in our election and what they're doing throughout the world and be more aggressive than President Obama if I chose to?
That's your choice, Senator.
Do you think he was justified in imposing new sanctions based on what Russia did?
I do.
Okay. So to those of you who want to throw rocks, you're going to get a chance here soon. And if we don't throw rocks, we're going to make a huge mistake. Admiral Rogers, is this going to stop until we make the cost higher?
We have got to change the dynamic here because we're on the wrong end of the cost equation.
Yeah, you got that right. Could it be Republicans' next election?
This is not about parties per se.
Yeah, it's not like we're so much better at cybersecurity than Democrats.
Right.
Now, I don't know what Putin was up to, but I don't remember anything about Trump in the election. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is time now not to throw pebbles, but to throw rocks. I wish we were not here. If it were up to me, we'd all live in peace. But Putin's up to no good, and he better be stopped. And Mr. President-elect, when you listen to these people, you can be skeptical, but understand they're the best among us, and they're trying to protect us. Thank you all.
Would you have any response to that diatribe?
Microphone.
Senator Graham and I have had our innings before, but I find myself in complete agreement with what he just said, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chairman McCain, if I might just pick up on a comment of yours, and that has to do with the information fight, if you will. And this is strictly personal opinion, not company policy. But I do think that we could do with having a USIA on steroids, United States Information Agency, to fight this information war that a lot more aggressively than I think we're doing right now.
You know, I agree, General, and I think one of the areas where we're lacking and lagging more than any other area is social media. We know these young people in the Baltics are the same as young people here. They get their information off the internet, and we have really lagged behind theirs.
But this is very serious. The combined intelligence of this country has concluded that efforts were undertaken to influence an election by an adversary that General Joe Dunford, the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said in testimony before this hearing was in his view, the principal adversary of the United States at this point. In addition, the attack was not just on a party headquarters. The October 7 letter that you've referred to talked about attacks on individuals, current and former public officials with significant positions, and also attacks on state boards of elections. The letter of October 7 traced those attacks to Russian entities, Russian companies, and didn't ascribe, at least in that letter, that to directed by the Russian government, but I'm curious about what the full report will show. It is my hope that this Congress is willing to stand in a bipartisan way for the integrity of the American electoral process and will show the same backbone and determination to get all the facts and get them on the table as the Congress did in 1974. There was another congressional inquiry that was directed after the attacks on 9/11, and there was a powerful phrase in that report that I just want to read. The commission concluded, quote, "The most important failure was one of imagination. We do not believe leaders understood the gravity of the threat." And that's something I think we'll all have to grapple with. Did we have sufficient warning signs? I think we did. And having had sufficient warning signs, why did we not take it more seriously? That question is every bit as important as a question about what a foreign government, an adversary, did and how we can stop it from happening. 3 quick points. 1, is the report next week that's going to be issued not solely going to be confined to issues of hacking, but also get into the dimension of this dissemination of fake news? Will that be one of the subject matters covered?
Without preempting the report, we will describe the full range of activities that the Russians undertook.
I think that is incredibly important. You know, I had a little role in this election. I was along for the ride for 105 days and was the subject of a couple of fake news stories. And it was interesting, there were at least 3 that the mainstream media didn't cover because they were so incredible that, like, why would they? But I looked at one of the stories and it had been shared 800,000 times. And when I see an administration who is put in place as the proposed national security advisor, someone who traffics in these fake news stories and retweets them and shares them, who betrays a sense of either gullibility or malice that would kind of be, these are stories that most 4th graders would find incredible.
Well, that's, as we look at foreign adversaries, that is always the issue, is capability and intent. And certainly with, in the case of the Russians, they do pose an existential threat to the United States, and I agree with Chairman Dunford on that. It's probably not our place, and at least my place in the intelligence community, to do an assessment of our intent. That's someone else's place, not mine.
Well, we thank you, and we thank the witnesses, and this has been very helpful. And Director Clapper, we'll be calling you again. This
Really?
is adjourned.
And now, live outside the hearing room, where we're hoping to hear from members who may want to comment to reporters.
Witnesses consistently testified for the Senate Armed Services Committee that the campaign was directed by senior Russian authorities. There was only a single mention of Vladimir Putin by name, and that came within the last hour, and it was given by DNI James Clapper, who said something of this political sensitivity, the interference and meddling in an American election, could only have happened with his blessing. Meantime, 3 transition sources have confirmed to Fox News that the Trump team is considering a restructuring of the U.S. intelligence community, a kind of streamlining, and an effort to deal with what is described as the bloat of the leadership and a politicization of the intelligence itself. This was described to us as something that is very preliminary, though this morning the incoming White House press secretary said the report first carried in the Wall Street Journal was false. In effect, though, this did come up at the hearing a short time ago.